We're about to talk about the Alabama game, but, man, Bryce Young knocked out of this game. It looked like he may have been available to go back in. He had his helmet on and everything, but Saban says after the game, sprained AC joint. Now, there's 5 different grades of AC joints, but look at their schedule coming up here, Shane. A&M, at Tennessee, and Mississippi State. Those are the next 3. They probably going to need Bryce Young for at least that Tennessee game and probably that Mississippi State game. So that's pretty big. But maybe they get a little bit of a break because Mac Johnson, he got hurt for Texas A&M, looked like a thumb injury. Mm-hmm. So that's a big showdown. I mean, it would be really unfortunate this Alabama A&M game if both starting quarterbacks couldn't go. But that is going to be a huge storyline to watch. The other big game we got, Shane, LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels. We'll get to that game in a minute, but he got injured, did not return to the game. They got Tennessee this week at home. And speaking of Tennessee, Shane, Cedric Tillman revealed he had that tightrope surgery on his ankle. Yeah. That's to expedite his recovery and get him back on the field. But he had that during, I think, the Florida week. So, they're hopeful that he can play it at Alabama, at LSU, if not Alabama. But again, that's a tough one, Shane, because they say Tua came back in 20-some odd days. Well, he's a quarterback. And he's not running out there. He's not making these cuts. And when Tua came back, they played horribly and they lost. You know what I mean? So it's like that is not a great example. So hopefully he's good to go. Maybe, every injury is different. Every athlete's different. And one more, Shane, we'll tackle with this game here. Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson hit his head. Did not return to the game. They got Mississippi State this week, brother. So, man, this is a tough position to be in here if you're the Arkansas Razorbacks. But even worse, coming off a 49-28 loss at home to mighty Alabama. Are we ready, Shane, to flip Alabama as the number 1 team in the SEC? That was the biggest critique I got in my power rankings this week. I still got Georgia number 1. What do you say after seeing Alabama just destroy Arkansas?
I'm with whoever complained about your power rankings, Mike. Usually I don't. I just ignore it because I'm probably going to be hurt,
Yep.
But I'm looking at it and I was like, well, this is clear-cut Alabama number 1, right? They just beat Arkansas. They didn't go, to death's doorstep with Mizzou here. But I'm watching it and you came out and they were flip-flop. Now, I can't really complain because I think Alabama and Georgia is a 1A, 1B right now. Yeah. But I kind of do because Alabama's dominant. That defense is fantastic. We're going to talk about that game here in a second, but just coming from what I just saw and they allowed Arkansas to get back in that thing and get it interesting, but with the backup quarterback, they pulled away again. So I think that's just showing you, where this Nick Saban-led program is. And right now, they are the best team in the SEC, in my opinion.
Ooh, well, they did rush for 317 yards, Shane, on 42 carries, 5 touchdowns against the Razorbacks. That just killed them. I mean, these big runs. And I really thought, Shane, I don't know about you, but when Bryce Young, we don't root for injuries or anything like that. I know I picked Arkansas. I was not celebrating that. But when he went down, Arkansas got some momentum, and I'm sitting here saying, oh, my God, it's going to happen. Arkansas is going to win this game. But we got to give credit to 2 guys, Shane. Jalen Milroe, backup quarterback, come in. He's my clutch player of the week with just a huge, huge run that really, after that happened, it was like a backbreaker for Razorbacks because they had some momentum going, and it was all she wrote right there. And Jahmyr Gibbs, offensive player of the week, Shane, how could it not be? 18 carries, 206 yards, 2 touchdowns. They stepped up big time with Bryce Young going down on the road, hostile environment to beat the Razorbacks here. Look, you mentioned that defense, Shane. Look at Arkansas's drive chart. I mean, this is why they really lost the game. They come out, punt, fumble, punt. 3 of the first 6 drives are 3 and out. Now, they got some momentum. Touchdown, punt, touchdown, field goal, touchdown. But then punt, field goal, punt, downs. I mean, they petered out real quick there at the end with KJ Jefferson out of the lineup, of course. But Man, this is just a devastating blow, and I'm seeing a lot of Arkansas fans, Shane. I mean, they are 1 foot on that edge of that cliff. But I sit here and say, well, yes, I picked you to beat Alabama. That's shame on me, but you got worked by a team Shane just said is the best in the SEC. Obviously, you should not have lost to A&M, but I think every game the rest of the way on your schedule. I'm not saying you'll win it, but these are games you should compete with. You should win a bunch of them. I'm not hitting the panic button just yet, unless maybe KJ's out for the year or something. And there's absolutely no indication that's going to be the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is not the time to panic. This is not the time to spiral, and that's what I was afraid of with the Razorbacks. You know, we talked about this possible scenario multiple times in the offseason. There was a shot they win both these games, Texas A&M and Alabama. There's a shot they lose one of them, or, what if they lose both of them? What happens? And one of the biggest things we discussed when we were doing that was the possibility of this, well, fold it up, we're done, there's still a real shot that you could go 10-2. Who doesn't want that record? That makes it easier for you to recruit more 4 and 5 star talent to your program and momentum. And this is the last program you need to give up on, because it can be worse. Okay, there was a coach that went down to Auburn and then went to Texas as a high school coach. He used to be your guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You've come from the bottoms, the depths of the purgatory of the SEC, and now you're competing with Alabama. There was a real opportunity for you to have that game. Was there some questionable calls in here? Yes. Was there some questionable penalties in here? Sure. It's Alabama. I think it comes with it. No, I'm just giving. I give Alabama a hard time. They know that. But one of the things that drove me nuts was there was some times that we needed to be aggressive. I think a little more aggressive. And, one of the ones that was glaring at me when it was 4th and 1, and I don't care if it's on that side. I've got one of the biggest offensive lines in the country. Yep. I've got the most physical quarterback in the country. If there's no reason I can't get 1 yard, I don't deserve to play Alabama and expect to win. So, I think there was a few plays like that really screwed it changed the whole, because when you felt it, when the fans were into this thing, Mike, and they thought they had a real opportunity, that place was violent. It was tough to play. It felt, we were right there. And if we could have, and I say we, because I bought into it, man. I was into it. Mike's texting me and tweeting me and all this stuff. He's pumped up. I'm pumped up. There's a real shot. Alabama may lose to Arkansas here, But when they took their foot off the gas and they made a couple of those boneheaded mistakes we talked about coming into this game, it blew their opportunity. And so that's what I hate, is because you rehash games like this and there are opportunities. There was moments in that game that they could have not only took the lead, but they could have sustained it. They could have won this game. But, if ifs and buts or candies and nuts, we'd all have a wonderful Christmas, Mike.
Yeah, and it was interesting, Shane, because they're kicking on sides, that was a great execution. But like you said, they're like punting on 4th and short when you got a monster O-line, a monster quarterback, all these great running backs. Rocket Sanders had over 100 yards. We got to give him credit. Still leads the SEC in rushing, I believe. But you just have to play balls to the wall here if you're going to beat Alabama. You cannot be conservative whatsoever. And I thought when the Arkansas defense, they got that interception of Bryce Young early in the ball game. Those are the breaks you need. But there just weren't enough of them. And I don't really fault them on, they were coming after Bryce. We said all week, that's the only way they're going to slow him down. Got to get to him. It's going to expose you on the back end, and it certainly did. Credit a lot of these Alabama young receivers for stepping up. Some players are emerging, Shane, which makes Alabama that much more dangerous. Guys that were not making plays against Texas, a couple weeks later, they're making big-time plays for the Crimson Tide. But lack of tackling and execution on defense is killing you. Again, we're just at the state of this program, Shane, where you lose a Jalen Catalon, you just can't make that up.
Right.
And you got guys banged up. It is what it is right now for Arkansas. I'm not sitting here hitting the panic button. You lost to a team at 99 out of 100 times you play them, you're going to lose that ball game. You need all the breaks to go your way, and you got to execute. They didn't get the breaks, and they didn't execute, and this is what happens. Alabama comes in here, and they beat you upside the head. You know what?
Yeah. Well, and Mike, it doesn't get easier. They got 2 top 25 teams coming to town, so there is no time to pout. There's no time to let it linger. Snap and clear. This thing's over. We can't bring it back. But like I said, what we can do is we can close out an amazing season. You got 7 more games, 7 more opportunities to remind the country that there's a reason that some of you picked them to be a top team in the West. So I think that's where we're at now with Arkansas. It's not pack it up. It's just, hey, we got some more, because it could get ugly if it does spiral and you lose to Mississippi State or you lose to BYU. Then what? That's when your recruits saying, well, hell, I don't want to go play for Sam now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They have really got to keep their foot on the gas here.
Better at.
Nick, how's Bryce?
Bryce has a little AC sprain in his shoulder. We'll have to take it day to day. I think he's okay. He doesn't have a serious injury. We didn't think it was, he could go back in the game today because I didn't think he had much steam on throwing the ball. He's had these before, and in a few days he starts to respond pretty well, so we'll just have to see how it goes and, play it day to day.
Does the offensive game plan change at all with a different quarterback coming in?
I don't know. I was going to call Jimbo afterwards and tell him exactly what we would do.
You have to adjust on the fly.
So, if he can hear it in the press conference, then I don't have to call him. So, there are things that Jalen does well. We practice some of those things, and if he has to play, we'll practice him more. So, but I thought he did a good job of managing a game today and, gave our team a chance to win. We scored how many points with him playing quarterback? We had 14 when Bryce was in there, and the rest was when he was in there. So it wasn't all bad.
Coach, how big was that Jalen Milroe run at the beginning of the fourth quarter? Kind of stopped the bleeding there a little. They're running momentum.
Yeah, it's stopped the bleeding for sure, because that was 3rd and long, in bad field position, and if we don't make a first down there, they're going to get the ball back, and they're down by 5 and have all the momentum in the game. So that was a huge momentum swing in the game, in my opinion. After that, we played better. After that, I didn't think they played as well.
Downs. How big was that? And they hit a lot of big ones. And that 77-yard run by Milroe looked like you had them,
It was huge. I mean, they were down, I think, inside the 20 and 28-23 game, and he went 77, and then they scored a couple of plays later and got it back up to a 12-point game, and we didn't answer on offense. And that was a big play. I was proud, I'm proud of the team for the way we came out and fought back into the game. I mean, we were in it. And but that play right there seemed to take a little bit of the wind out of our sails. And we couldn't convert the next time we had the ball. But that was a big play. And then, obviously Gibbs' run, and I don't think we touched him, so we got to get better. We've got to tackle better. We seem to say it every week, but we got to eat up space better. But on offense, we got to throw the ball better too. We're not. I mean, we're right now we're one dimensional, and we've got to be able to throw and catch and protect and all those things. It's got to be better, because we can't just turn around and hand the ball off and beat really good teams. We got to do better.
KJ got slammed down and came out for a play and then went back. Can you update us on how he's doing, what you thought of the game?
I mean, he hit his head. I don't know. I don't know where he's at, to be honest with you. Obviously, we didn't bring him back in, so I don't know any more than that.
Sam, you guys made a great comeback, but Alabama, led the whole way, built a big lead, and they do that on a lot of people. That's kind of their MO. How tough is that when you fall behind Alabama, whether it's you guys or anybody else they're playing? How tough is it to play from behind?
Well, it's hard. We did it all the whole game last year down over there. It was maybe getting close, sort of like today, except we didn't. They didn't end up having the big plays in the fourth quarter. Well, we answered them for most part last year, but I don't know. All sad.
The message to the team at halftime, because you just score, you're gonna get the ball. Did you feel like we can get back in this game? And you did.
Yeah, I felt like we'd get back in the game as long as we believe we could get back in the game. What happens is we've won a lot of games. 12 of our last whatever it is, and I guess 12 of our last 18 or whatever. But what happens is you got to watch it because we can't revert back to, when we was getting our butt kicked every week, and you got to watch it because it's hard. We've got to have leadership. That's what the halftime was about, the older guys that need to lead and talk, and I think the captains did a nice job at halftime of talking after I got through, but it was just, I'll be honest with you, it was just a challenge to go play hard, and show our character, who we are, what got us here, go out there and play hard. And, we had to make adjustments as a coaching staff, but they had to go out there and play hard, and I thought they did.
Well, speaking of getting ugly,